Hello, you are once again welcome to Math and Startup. Today we'll be looking at the concept of primary and secondary data. Now, in our last class we talked about data collection, and there is a need for us to look into what we refer to as the primary and the secondary data. Now, I'm going to start with secondary data. Basically, secondary data is just as its name implies, is a second-hand data. I mean to say, it's a type of data that you collect from a library, or that you collect from a particular organization. It has already been collected and it is not done freshly or done by you. It was done by a particular organization, body, or a person. All you just need to do is just to collect the data and use it directly for your data analysis. But the second of it is called the primary data, and this data is a first-hand data. First-hand data in the sense that you are the one that goes all out to the field to gather the data for yourself. So it's basically your primary data is a first-hand data. First-hand data. You are the one to go to the field, gather data all by yourself. And there are methods by which this can be achieved. There are methods by which this can be attained and achieved. One of the beautiful methods by which it can be done is that you do that by questionnaire. And this questionnaire can either be mailed or given directly to the respondent. Meanwhile, I need you to know that there are two persons involved when it comes to research and data collection. We have the enumerator and you have the respondent. The enumerator is the person that actually collects data from the respondent. So by questionnaire, it gives you liberty to collect large amount of information from large amount of people. In case you want to ask about 25 questions from 500 people, you can do that at a go the moment you can administer a well-constructed question in a sheet of paper or perhaps by mail. That is one of the means by which you can go all out to obtain a primary data. The next one is called by observation. Then I could just go to a scene where an incident has just happened and I just go there to observe what has happened so far. By so doing, I am collecting a first-hand information because I am doing that by the means of what? By the means of observation. And the next of it is referred to as the interview method. The interview method has to do with a kind of direct oral interview. I'm going to my respondent and asking them questions about a particular matter, about a particular situation, or about a particular topic. And this actually gives me liberty to ask my respondent questions based on their local language. It's applicable to both literate or illiterate, unlike the questionnaire whereby the person I'm administering the questionnaire to may need to know how to read or write, except I have my research assistants that can stay with them to mark the necessary options. So that is that for what we call the interview method. I could ask you questions based on your local language and get information as when needed. Then the next one is called the indirect or the indirect oral interview. The indirect oral interview, that is one of the ways of collecting data. And when we talk about the direct personal investigation, it is not practicable either because of the unwillingness or the reluctant behavior of the person you are about to collect information from. For instance, you want to get information about the pleasure people get from smoking, or the use of contraceptive among the youth. They may not be willing to open up because it deals with perhaps the moral standard of a society in quote. So you are likely not to get a sincere report from such a research. And like I said, you can also get information through local agencies. These are ways by which you can get your primary data. Then there is also a need for me to tell us on how we can draft a questionnaire or framing a questionnaire. Lately, I've come across one or two questionnaires, and it's obvious that the structuring is not well done, and that must have been because the objective or the aim of the study is not well defined, and that the scope of the study, my experimental unit is also, the experimental unit is not well defined. This will actually make a questionnaire to lose the attribute of being well structured and not being ambiguous. So one of the factors we need to consider when we are to construct a questionnaire is to know the size of the questionnaire should be as small as possible. I mean to say, we necessarily do not need plenty questions. All the question I need is just to fulfill my aim and my objective for the study. And the question should be clear and brief, unambiguous. Should be clear and brief, should be unambiguous. Should be clear and brief and unambiguous. Don't need to use any ambiguous language or extraordinary, in quote, grammatical terms. It should be well defined, simple, clear, brief, unambiguous. It should not be offending, courteous in tone, collaborative in nature, and to the point, so that not much scope of guessing is left or part of the respondent. And also, do not ask leading questions like, you know that this economy is bad. What do you think about it? Do you think it's good? Such a question is called leading question. It should just be a plain question. It should come in form of a statement that people can either say through or force to it, as the case may be. Now, the question should be arranged in a natural logical sequence. For instance, I want to find a person that owns a refrigerator. In a logical question, I would say, do you own a refrigerator? When did you buy it? What is it make? How much did it cost you? Is the performance satisfactory? How is it serving you? And the likes of them. But me starting with, is your refrigerator working? Without first knowing if he or she has a refrigerator, will not make a good questionnaire. Now, questions should be designed that they are readily comprehensive and easy to answer to the respondent, and questions of sensitivity or personal nature should be avoided. For instance, when last you have sex? When last did you do this or do that? If it's so personal, such a question should not be administered, as it may not receive a sincere response. The next one is you have a type of questions, and you have the open questions and the open questions and the short question. When I say short, I mean SHUT, the short question. In this question, possible answers or suggestion by the frame of the questionnaires, and the respondent is required to pick one of them. Such is called your short questions. It could be simple, it could be multiple choice question, it could be the Likert scale or the likes of them. But the open question is you have the liberty of answering a question in your own way. Such is referred to as what? As the open question. Meanwhile, I pointed out that you should in every way avoid a leading question. And after I've constructed your questionnaire, it's imperative that to do a cross-check. Check if what you have asked so far is satisfying your objective. And again, a pilot survey goes a long way. Do a pilot survey, a pretest, knowing if knowing how a small amount of, perhaps if you have the intention of researching about 1,000 respondents, you could just check 400 or 50 to see how they're going to respond to the questionnaire or the question. If then to know if you need to restructure a particular question, or if you need to do some adding, removing, or if it is best that